Welcome, 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 everybody. It's Coach Les and Mr. Yarwood from Yarwood's Martial Arts. We are here with Mat Chat, and today we're going to be talking about discipline in martial arts. Over to you, Mr. Yarwood. Start us off.
So, I think most people think about discipline in the martial arts as, or look at like a military style type thing, is the instructor telling you what to do, right? You go do this and you listen. If you don't, there's push-ups or burpees or whatever it is they want to do, wall sits. And that's part of it. But when we talk about discipline in our school, most often talked about type of discipline is what we call self-discipline. And self-discipline is, we start with teaching the kids the things that they're supposed to do, and then we encourage them to do those things without us having to tell them anymore. That's the ultimate goal. One of the things we talk about is with the parents. It's like, okay, you have your kids who have, let's say they have 3 chores that they need to do every day. And that kid knows that every day he's supposed to do these 3 things. And he just for some reason decides he doesn't want to do them. Right? So we talk to them about, okay, well, if you don't want to do them, then there's going to be consequences to what you're not doing. But if you decide that you want to do them and you go do them, even if you don't want to do them, you're going to make mom and dad happy because you showed them self-discipline. You decided on your own that you were going to finish the things that you know you were supposed to do, even though you didn't feel like doing them. So we expand our teachings of discipline beyond the walls of the dojo, beyond the mats, like we say. And we teach them to find things to do that they know they're supposed to be doing without having to wait for somebody to tell them to do it. Whether it comes home from school, getting their homework done, getting up in the morning and making their bed, or getting home and putting their toys away, or brushing their teeth, or setting the table for dinner for mom and dad, or helping out with the yard without being told. All those things are considered what we consider self-discipline. And if our students and kids can learn self-discipline at an earlier age, they're much more likely to be successful going forward, because they're going to figure out that there's not always going to be someone there to tell them what to do. If they're always waiting for someone to tell them what to do, they're never going to be successful. They're just going to sit there and wait and wait and wait. So we try and teach them to be able to have the self-discipline to take on tasks on their own and not wait around for others to tell them what it is that they're supposed to be doing.
It's interesting that you would say some of this, right? Because, what you've written here and what you've created on this sheet. So we're looking at a sheet here with 12 points of discipline, and the first one about self-discipline. We look at that, and it has so much to do with so many things. On my YouTube channel, I have 100 videos on integrity. And one of them is about brushing your teeth. And people laugh at me. And yet, I just had a conversation with a gal up at one of the ice cream shops who was talking about her friend's boyfriend who doesn't brush his teeth. And her friend looked at me and said, "Oh my God, I couldn't kiss him." And yet you're going out with him and sleeping with him and kissing him. Oh, what do you, and I look at that and I'm listening. This is from a girl, right? And I'm like, I understand that. And then immediately in my mind is, where's the lack of self-discipline to just brush your teeth?
Mm-hmm.
Something that can take 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening.
Yep. I think the biggest issue I see is that the accountability part of it, right? If they don't learn self-discipline, Sure, there's part of it that people just figure out on their own, right? But I think a lot of it has to do with learning how to be self-disciplined, right? Teaching them these are the things that you're supposed to be doing on a regular basis. And then you start looking for things to do. So if we show them how to be self-disciplined, that kind of opens their eyes to the fact, oh, I should be doing this stuff myself, right? And that's what we talk about. If you're always waiting for somebody to tell you to do something, you're never going to get anywhere because you're just sitting around. And because I'm not going to walk around if I have to tell this same kid over and over and over and over and over and over again to do something. At some point, I'm going to just stop doing it because he's not listening. He's not learning what it is he needs to learn, and it's a waste of my time to be constantly reminding him, right? Just like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? I can teach you self-discipline, but if you don't do it, you're not going to have it. That's just how it is. So it becomes something that at some point they have to take it on themselves. And if they're not held accountable to start with and don't learn what it is they're supposed to do, they're not going to.
Which I think is, welcome to our society right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, jumping into this piece of respect, right? It's respecting oneself enough to have that discipline.
For sure. Yeah, it ties in because, like you said, self-respect goes along with self-discipline. And if you do the toothbrushing thing, you're not having respect for yourself, right? You're not having respect for other people either because you're not doing the things that you need to do to have good hygiene around other people, and they're going to recognize that. And then that reflects on, okay, what other things aren't they taking care of for themselves? What other things aren't they doing, right? So self-respect and self-discipline go hand in hand with each other. And when you wear clean clothes, when you are brushing your teeth like you're supposed to do, when you're taking care of the chores you're supposed to do, when you're whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing it on a regular basis, and you're not being told to do it, people recognize that, and they also recognize when you're not. So, the respect and discipline are two things that are really kind of like companions with each other when it comes to doing things that you're supposed to be doing. And we teach that as well, because we talk about how they wear their uniform. What does it look like? Is it clean? Are they having the discipline to get dressed on their own? Or are they always having mom and dad teach them how to do it, right? And always let mom and dad do it for them. We show them, we make videos for it so they can watch them and then they can learn on their own. So we don't have to do it. And so mom and dad don't have to do it. And it's just, it's the discipline to learn how to do a simple task like tying your own uniform and belt. And if they're not learning it, if they're a 10-year-old kid and they're not learning how to do it, that means they're not taking that discipline and showing respect for themselves to learn how to do a simple task, which means that's going to reflect into a lot of other things that they're not taking care of as well.
Right, because if they can't do it with such a small task, what are they doing with their homework?
Right.
Yeah. Routine, consistency, we've just talked about that, right? With the whole toothbrush thing.
Yeah.
So for me, jumping into the next one, focus and concentration. What is it that has people lose focus today and not be able to concentrate? And I will tell you immediately, it has to do with social. It has to do with all of the social media. It has to do with all of the dynamic things that we have hitting our brains every day.
Yep.
That may not be getting the play, quote unquote, as much as is desired, for the simple fact that I think we're rewarding a lack of focus and concentration. Mm-hmm. We're rewarding people who aren't routine and consistent because we don't want to offend them.
I think it can be even nefarious too, and with the way that media is delivered now, it's in short little bursts, right? A little pop of information here, a little pop of information there, and then move on to the next thing, right? And when we're scrolling through our phones or we're doing whatever, we're doing that over and over and over again. As adults, I think we hopefully have a little bit more control over that. But if we hand a phone to our kids and say, "Hey, go whatever," and we go do our thing, that's all they're doing. Doing. And they don't. The attention span that they have is limited to 30 seconds or less, right? And if you can't get them to focus for more than 30 seconds, more than concentrate on anything, they're not going to have discipline to do anything else because they can't even concentrate on one thing in particular, like have them sit down and read a book or have them sit down and do whatever, spend 30 minutes without their phone or without sitting in front of a computer or an iPad. It doesn't take a whole lot. Teach them to be able to do those things.
And yet we want them to be used as nooks.
Yep.
Baby screaming, hand him a nook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I see it a lot with our kids. And with us, our classes are 35 to 45 minutes long. And that proves to me that they can focus on one thing for that amount of time and not be distracted by anything else going on. We can keep them moving and training and learning for 45 minutes at a time. So it's possible to do it. It just has to be done, right? You have to have as a parent, you have to have the willpower to be able to get your kid to sit for 35 minutes and not do anything other than say read, right? We're going to read this book for an actual book, a real book, not even on their phone book, a real book. Say, read this book for 35 minutes.
Turn these pages.
Yep. So just kind of get them to focus on something for 30 minutes at a time, right? And eventually they start to realize that they're going to get a lot more out of it. They're going to learn something from it. So plus it's going to help them down the road when they become adults, when they're at work and they have to focus on a job to get it done. And they have that ability to sit down and work 30 minutes straight, 45 minutes straight without any distractions and getting their work done.
And so many kids have been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I really believe it's because of how much input is coming at them.
Yep.
From electronic devices.
For sure. It's a babysitter. It's an electronic nanny, right? Your kid tells you they're bored. Okay, here's an iPad. Here's a phone. Go keep yourself busy. And then it turns into a fight when you're trying to get them to do some other things and you want to take it away from them, and it turns into this huge battle, right? You've created your own problem. You want your kids to focus and pay attention and concentrate, but you're the one who handed them that device in the first place to distract them from stuff. So it's a tough situation because you're fighting a battle that you started. It's unfortunate.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of taking notes, speaking of looking, moving into the next one, goal setting. How many people have something like this?
Yep.
It's a vision board for 2024. Took us 2 hours. was a fun thing. We got to do it in a big group. And it's absolutely amazing to see, okay, what are we up to? What are we creating? Is it following in line with what we've wanted? And have said, okay, this is what we want in our life, and this is what we're going to go through to get there.
Yep. Yeah, goal setting. If you don't have discipline, goal setting is going to be impossible for you because you're not, you have this big, hairy, audacious goal, right? This big, giant thing you're trying to reach. And then you break it down into all its little pieces and each little milestone along the way to get you to where you need to go. And if you don't even have the discipline to do the little details, you're never going to reach that big goal. You're never going to get where you need to go. You need to have discipline and say, okay, every single day I need to do this, this, and this in order to reach my goal. And it's got to be every single day or whatever the time period is that you have set for yourself. Every week I have to get these things done. Without your self-discipline, it ain't going to happen because you're not going to. Well, you can go back to the routine and consistency, the self-discipline, the focus and concentration. All those things are built into that. And if you don't take the time at the beginning, you probably have to force yourself to do it, right? Especially if you haven't done it before. And if you're not willing to put that effort in, then down the road, when you don't reach your goals and when you don't get where you want to go, you only have yourself to blame for not taking care of the things you need to take care of. And goal setting is a huge discipline trainer because you have to, especially if you write it down and you look at it and you see it, and like that vision board right there, you see it in front of you all the time. That keeps you going, right? If it's out of sight, it becomes out of mind. You stop doing it, you lose the discipline to finish it, and you're not going to reach your goals. For us, we have all of our, obviously at a martial arts school, everybody's goal is the black belt, right? For us, you walk in the door, from the time you walk into the door to the time you earn your black belt is a minimum of 4 years. And I tell people that right off the bat. So it's not going to be a simple process, right? But if you have the discipline to sit down and figure out, we're going to show you exactly how to do it. We're going to give you that path. We're going to show you the roadmap to get to that black belt. We can give you the map. You need to follow it. And if you're not doing your part, if you're not having the self-discipline to finish all the things you need to do, A, it's going to take you longer to get there, or B, you're just going to quit because it's too hard, or what you think is too hard because you're not willing to do the work that it takes to get to that spot, right? Discipline is hard, but if you decide that you're going to have discipline and you start teaching yourself discipline, the things that are going to open up to you down the road are going to be incredible because you're finding ways. Let's look at it from a time perspective, right? If you have discipline to schedule your time out, to schedule all the things during the day that you need to get done, say make a list of 5 things you need to get done every day that are important to get you to your goals. What if you get those done by 11 a.m.? What happens to the rest of your day, right? You got time for all kinds of other stuff that you wouldn't have had time for before because you were, quote, too busy, right? If you have the discipline to get those things done, you're creating time for yourself. And that goes for pretty much anything you're going to do when it comes to discipline.
I think of what does it take? So I have a picture of this vision board on my phone. It's present. It's there. I'm always trying to persevere because guess what? There are times when you're not going to make your goals. And what do? Stop?
Quit. Go back to the beginning and start over.
So the opportunity in all of this really, and the overlying piece for some of what we're going to be sharing today is communication.
Yep. And that's not just with others, that's with yourself too. That's self-talk. If when you get up in the morning or whatever time you look in the mirror or whatever, what you say to yourself has a huge effect on who you are and how you feel about yourself. Right? People don't think much about the way that they talk about themselves or the way that they think about themselves. It's easy to be negative. That's like everybody's default, right? And even though it may not seem like what they're saying is negative, it's not flat out, I suck, I can't do these things, right? There's different ways that your brain takes in that information that you're giving it. And just because it's not necessarily directly negative, the tone is negative. How you're thinking about things can be negative.
And that comes to, I think part of this is that etiquette piece. I think I haven't looked yet. Part of it comes with that self-control and accountability. All of these pieces, right, coming in discipline.
Yep.
And when you look at how you show up in the world, really recently, we just had a guy that we took 3 months to train, right? Scooping ice cream. And out of the blue, no 2-week notice, just says, I'm quitting. I can't handle all of the things and still have a life. It's like, well, what do you mean still have a life? Where's the discipline in, you knew you were taking on a job.
Yep.
You knew you were doing these things. It's like showing up to do martial arts and saying, well, can't I just sit in the seats?
Can I just learn by watching?
So some of this is once again, is being patient and persevering through some of the bumps, because you're going to have bumps. You're going to have times when you're like,
but that's when your discipline is tested, and that's where it's strengthened, and that's where it's forged. Because if everything comes easy, you're not learning anything. You're just going, hey, this is easy. I can do this all day long, right? Suddenly something happens that forces you to make a decision that's hard or do something physically that's hard. You're challenged. And if you fail, your discipline suffers, right? You have to have the discipline to get through the hard times, because that's where you learn the discipline to be able to do the things you need to do.
yeah.
I mean, there's no other way around it. You skating through life doesn't get you anywhere. Like we talk about, either you win or you learn. And those are your two options. Failure is the best teacher of anything, of discipline, of respect, of whatever, because when you fail, you have to analyze, okay, why did I fail? What happened? How can I do better next time? And then, you go back and you do whatever it is you were doing, and you fail at something else. So you learn from that too. And, it's just, to me, I mean, obviously forcing failure isn't going to work, but I mean, there's no way that you're going to go through your entire life and not have failures. That's just the way it is.
Right.
But what you do with those is the key to the whole thing. And if you have the discipline to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and go, okay, where did I screw up and how can I fix it? Now you're training yourself to, okay, expect that there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, but also accept that that's where the learning is happening. That's where the discipline is being forged for my future.
Yeah. And you look at, I mean, I love martial arts movies, right? I just enjoy it. I enjoy seeing the the discipline that goes on. And I know it still exists, right? We see the now I'm gonna forget the monks.
The Tibetan monks.
Yeah, the ones in the orange.
Yep.
And they do all these things on, they do all these superhuman things.
Yep.
And you go, how do they do it? So this middle-aged white guy went over there to study, right? And he's a black belt martial artist. And he studies and he goes over there, and they start them as like when they're able to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it 8 hours a day like a full-time job.
Yep.
And I look at all of that as this is strengthening both mind, body, and spirit.
Yep.
Through tradition, through discipline, and the etiquette of, how do you do some of these moves? How do you be a gentleman? How do you be polite? How do you have common sense? Like, where does all of this come from?
Yep. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. And he talks about people who are what everybody else would call experts in their field, whether it be, gymnastics in the Olympics or whatever physical or whatever it is, right? And he talks about the fact that the majority of these people who everybody else thinks are experts, sure, they may be experts, but it's because they put a minimum of 10,000 hours into their craft, because they're every single day they're working on their craft. They're getting better and better and better. And even when it was hard, even when things got in their way, obstacles were in their way, they finished what they were supposed to do. They had the discipline to get it done every single day. And he talks about there's people out there who are always pointing at them and say, they got it easy. They got lucky. Their circumstances were such that they were given an easy path or whatever it is. And they never look at what it took to get to where they were, right? You think of like Simone Biles. You think she was just handed those gold medals for 3 straight Olympics? Or do you think she worked on to get them, right?
Michael Phelps. Look at that.
The day Simone Biles gets home from the Olympics, she takes a rest day and she goes right back to training again, right? Immediately. There's no rest. There's the work ethic that just keeps her going and going and going, that drive to understand that the only way she's going to stay at the top of her game is to do the things that she's always done in terms of her discipline to train, the way she eats, the way she handles herself, the way she carries herself. Everything that she does leads to gold medals at the Olympics, right? Sure, she has talent, right? But one of my favorite quotes is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Right? I don't have a lot of talent in me, but I don't ever quit, right? I'm never going to be the greatest at anything, but I guarantee you I'm going to outwork most people just because that's how I am. And I understand that it's the only way that I'm going to get where I need to go. Once I stop, everybody catches up.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I think that's, you look at Michael Phelps, as well, right? And you talk to him and you find out that to him, practice and swimming is like brushing his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't see a day without it.
Yep.
And Simone the same way. I mean, for her to do some of the things, I just watched a video of hers on YouTube where she does, a bunch of flips and pops up in the air and then lands and bounces in the splits back up to standing.
Yep.
And you know, the camera gets close enough at one point where you can look and you can just see she hits the ground and flexes, right? And you just think, what did that take to get to that point?
Yep.
And I just look and think, there's somebody that has held herself accountable, that has had the self-control, that has had the moral and ethical development based on her view and choice of what it was that she saw as a possibility for herself.
Yep. Yep. And she acted on it. You know, she took the path of doing it. I'm sure there was plenty of days she didn't want to.
Yeah.
Probably more often than not, right? But that wasn't a factor because she knows it doesn't matter whether she wants to or not. She decided that's what she's going to do. So she signed up for the work that it was going to take to get there. Whether she wanted to or not had no bearing on anything. Because more often than not, she's like, I don't feel like going to the gym. But guess what? The other side of her went, no, we got to go to the gym. You want to be in the Olympics? Let's go. And that's where that self-discipline kicks in. Say, hey, got to go do it.
Yeah. And I'll be the first to tell you, I mean, and this is just light and easy stuff that I'm going to talk about. That walking my dogs, coming home, I'm tired at the end of the day. For those of you that don't know me, I work 2 full-time jobs. And by the time the end of the day comes, I am, and the physical discipline, because I know once I put, change shoes, once I get the dogs excited and I take them for a walk, I know that at some point in the first quarter to half mile, there will be a click, and then it becomes super easy.
Yep. The hardest part is just that first motion, getting it going.
Yeah.
And once you get going, all right, let's go.
Yeah. I like what you've written here. Discipline in martial arts is not just about following rules. It's about developing a mindset and lifestyle that promotes continuous self-improvement, continuous respect, and continuous responsibility. This discipline extends beyond the dojo.
Yep.
Influencing, and this is the part that as a coach for me is the most powerful piece. Influencing all aspects of a practitioner's life.
Yep. That's why what I do to me is so important, because I only have those students for a couple hours a week, right? But the impact that I can make on their lives is way beyond, even if they aren't going to my school anymore, they've moved on, they've done whatever. My goal is that I have made an impact in their lives that teaches them discipline or respect, all the life skills that we talk about, all these things that they're going to take with them and become the best version of whoever they are and what they can be, regardless of what they do. It's so impactful to be able to have that power to be able to, teach them how to discipline themselves so they can use it in everything that they do.
Yep. Yeah. Anything you want to wrap up today with?
It's hard to choose what the most important life skills are that I teach. But I think if I had to rank them, prioritize them, self-discipline would probably be up at the top. Just because without that, none of the other stuff is really going to be useful. Because if you don't have the discipline, the rest of it falls by the wayside. Like I said, it's hard to really say, oh, this one's more important than that one. But I think a lot of them depend on discipline in order for them to function. And it's just important that you learn discipline, self-discipline, to do the things that you need to do every single day. Find out what it is that gets you going, gets you motivated, keeps you going. So it's important. I think I lost you, Les. Am I here by myself now? I think I'm here by myself. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Yep.
He's back.
I'm back. So for me, and just in closing and just looking at this, one of the things that I want to leave people with is discipline is not just something that happens. It's not just something that you're born with. It is something that's learned. And the learning of it, much like there's a YouTube that's out there of an admiral talking about the SEALs and what it takes to become a Navy SEAL, and making your bed to the point of it being able to bounce a quarter. And the whole premise behind coming back to the barracks at the end of a long day and getting into a bed that is beautifully made and sliding into the comfort of a well-made bed. There's something about that. And the discipline to start doing that moment by moment, by moment, by moment, by moment, and doing and getting in the habit of that. And it is a very simple thing, right? But it makes such a big difference.
Yep.
And people, think about it. Here we are talking about it. I mean, I happen to have been in the military. Mr. Yarwood wasn't. That whole piece during boot camp for me of that bed. Now, I was used to it. My parents were both in the military, so I could not. And some of you will laugh at this, right? And you'll say, "Well, that would be awesome because I don't want to go to school." Right? My parents wouldn't let me go to school till my bed was made, my clothes were hung up and put away, and my room passed in quote unquote inspection. Now, some of you that are listening are going to go, "Whoa, coach, that means you get to stay home." Yeah, well, staying home.
Not an option.
Not an option. And it didn't look like what people around here staying home. I didn't get to watch TV in my bedroom. Yep. I didn't get to sit on an iPad and play computer games all day. If I ended up, for whatever reason, being at home and my parents were working, guess what? I had a chore list. And it was magically planned.
Yep. Just sitting there waiting for you.
Just sitting there waiting for me. And just so that the amount of time it took me to do the tasks, I had no wiggle room before the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, discipline is a perishable skill. It has to be worked on all the time.
Amen. All right. Anything else, sir?
That's it for today.
All right. Let's kick this bad boy into gear to say cheerio.
See you on the mat.